Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. Gennady Golovkin's side wants 50-50 in a rematch with Canelo after previously agreeing to a lower split. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Shout out to the dailynews.com, link in the description. They have some quotes from both Golden Boy and Golovkin's side. And it looks like the rematch has reached ahead. It's reached some roadblocks. And the reason being is that they're saying Canelo made $50 million in the first fight, with all things considered the success of the event. And Golovkin is the champion. And even though he's said to get about $20 million in a rematch, they want 50. They want 50-50. So Golden Boy basically sent over a contract, which was the same contract, same rematch deals and terms for the most part, with the new date. They were down to fight, Canelo's down to fight him in September. So it would have been 65-35 again, in the lion's share going to Canelo. Tom Loeffler says, all Gennady came back with is that I just want a fair split. I want a 50-50 split. I'm the champion. We made a lot of concessions for the first fight. Was a very low percentage for Gennady. We made a lot of concessions for the rematch after Gennady proved his value. But Canelo, for whatever reason, was insisting on still having a huge advantage. It was 65-35% for the rematch, and Gennady thinks that just is not fair. Taking 35% as the champion is just not fair. Right? So, I want to give my thoughts to this. Golden Boy says he's afraid. Like, why would you not sign up for the same deal? And I gotta admit, I see more of the Golden Boy side. Like, all this is not fair, that's not fair. Life is not fair. Business definitely is not fair. You know what I'm saying? You don't get what you're worth, you get what you negotiate. That's a long-standing quote. Was it from Wolf of Wall Street? But I mean, just watch the movie Wolf of Wall Street. Like that, you know what I mean? That's why you got guys who have made a lot of money in the game, like Floyd Mayweather. What does he always say? Oh, I want to thank God and my team, Al Heyman. What could I say? I got a hell of a team. That's why you have to get the right team, certain people in position that are going to negotiate on your behalf and get you what is fair for you, or whatever your version of fair is. You know what I mean? But I have no problem with Gennady's people trying and attempting to get something more. But the moment you realize that Golden Boy says no, we're not budging, and this fight could overall be canceled, and you're willing to walk away from that, but you were willing to take that same deal, that, my friends, is the problem, for a couple reasons. Let me explain. For one, Gennady Golovkin has been highly critical of Canelo Alvarez in the past, 2016 and on, I would say, where Canelo fought Amir Khan. He said, oh no, he's a clown, businessman. It's not true fight, right? All these types of things. What did he do later that year? Fought a welterweight. Now, it wasn't Amir Khan or someone who had been stopped, but yet and still, it was still a welterweight with the same outcome of the Canelo Khan fight, a knockout, right? An undersized guy being knocked out. Golovkin's team said all this stuff about this Canelo's a businessman and Floyd Mayweather fighting Conor McGregor. It's not true fight, it's business fight, and I don't care. I'm here for the fans and to put on for the fans. So now this is your opportunity. Take the same deal that you agreed to for May 5th for the fans. You know what I mean? See, and this is what like true colors or true intent are starting to come out. What someone says versus what the reality is. And the reality is this is prize fighting, and everybody's jockeying for position. Everybody's trying to get the most while they can. That's just what it is. But Golovkin's team went on under this guise of, hey, we do this, hey, Mexican style for the fans and things like that. But those things aren't true. You don't fight Mexican style. There is, in fact, no Mexican style. I know Mexican fighters that fight nothing like the style in which you're referring to. You know what I mean? Canelo is one of them. You know what I mean? Juan Manuel Marquez, he could be aggressive. He's a counterpuncher, but he don't fight no Mexican. De La Hoya didn't fight like what you would call Mexican style. You know what I mean? Where you just come forward with no type of care and reckless about. You know what I mean? But Golovkin wasn't fighting Mexican style when he fought Canelo. He was hesitant. He wasn't doing that when he fought Jacobs or even Lemieux, who has a lot of power. Right? So slowly but surely, we're seeing these things unravel, these statements that were previously made. Hey, these guys are businessmen. They're not true fighters. Our group, Team GGG, we are true fighters. We're not in it for the business. But in fact, you're in it for the same reason everybody is. Initially, probably the love for the sport and all that. But beyond that, you're trying to make a pretty penny in here too. Because if not, why not fight him, set the record straight? All the fans want to see the fight, right? You know what I mean? And now you're holding up the negotiations. So that's the only issue I have. Not necessarily like seeing what's out there or initially trying to get more money, but you already got a response from Golden Boy. Now the fight is in shambles, and as fans, we might not get a fight because you're having this standoff with Golden Boy about a percentage split that you agreed to. If you didn't want 65-35, then why do we have a rematch? That's my point, simply put. Why did the rematch, why was it ever announced? If 65-35 is not a good split for a champion, then why did you agree to that, to have the rematch? Now that all these things have happened with clenbuterol, you think that the split has to be different? You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense to me. I haven't heard anyone come up with people, oh, you're biased, or whatever. I haven't heard anyone come up with a perspective that answers that. Because for me, for you to no longer be content, something would have had to happen in between time, in the meantime, for you to no longer be satisfied with that. Like, I can understand if, like I said, maybe Golovkin beat somebody notable in between, like a notable middleweight or a notable guy at middleweight, like Danny Jacobs convincingly beat him, maybe even beat his mandatory, Derevyanchenko. Definitely beat, if you beat Charlo or something like that, beat Billy Joe Saunders for a title. But none of that has changed. So to me, it sounds like a personal problem for Team GGG. Now he's realizing his value, I guess, just now, and it's holding up the negotiations. He no longer wants to fight for the 65-35 because he's re-examined his value as a champion and said, hey, we were getting lowballed. But if you felt that way, then why'd you agree to that? You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you negotiated with Golden Boy and then the second fight couldn't be agreed upon because you refused to take 35. You agreed to take the same split a few months ago, and nothing has really changed. And then now all of a sudden, that deal is not good enough. Again, I don't have a problem with someone fishing for a better deal, but herein lies the problem where you're steadfast trying to get the deal, and it doesn't look like Golden Boy. They're telling you the train is moving. We're moving on. And all the way, I blame Team GGG for this because they could have created better avenues for power and better avenues for the maximum amount of leverage. You can't just become an A side. That's just not what happens in boxing. And listen, some people, oh, it's not fair. Oh, you deserve. A side literally has nothing to do with being fair, right? What is being fair? You know what I mean? Like Jesse Vargas, he could have been when he was the WBO champion. He could be the champion, but if he would have fought Broner when he had that belt, guess what? Broner would still be the A side. Has nothing to do with being fair, who's a likable guy, who you like better. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has something to do with kind of a popularity contest, branding, the ability to put asses in seats and influence, and the ability to captivate people to want to buy tickets and pay-per-views and watch your shows. So it doesn't really have nothing to do with, yes, Golovkin is a good champion. He has all the belts except for one. But if you think that that's going to create some type of situation where the A side will budge, then I don't think you're analyzing the situation correctly. You know what I mean? And again, I've called this a long time ago, and now you're seeing the ramifications for it. For example, Golovkin, in my opinion, should have been like, fuck Canelo a long time ago. And what I mean by fuck Canelo is moved on with his own independent plans and his own career, and then met up with Canelo later down the line when it, like, you know what I mean, when he could get it. Like, still pursue your own personal dreams, basically. Like, Golovkin came in the game talking about all the belts and middleweight history, right? So if you're all about legacy and middleweight history, then go after that history. Don't just wait around for Canelo, who was like twiddling his thumbs and vacating his belt to you, and he wasn't really signing you on your terms, or signing to fight you on your terms. He was signing to fight you when his team felt they wanted it. And you notice after people said Golovkin looked human or got exposed by Kell Brook, and then after Jacobs went the distance, then Canelo's team came to the table and made the match. But when Golovkin was knocking out Willie Monroe and Macklins or whoever, and hadn't lost or hadn't not knocked somebody out in like 23 fights or whatever in a row, you didn't see him coming to the table. But that's boxing. Sometimes people wait for slippage. They wait for you to look human. They wait for that chink in your armor. They wait for you to look and appear more vulnerable. Now they're ready to fight you. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what we've seen with Canelo. So this whole time, before Canelo seen this quote unquote chinks in the armor of Golovkin and came to the table and was ready, Golovkin could have been establishing his own history. That's how you get the power. That's how you get the leverage. And the easiest way to do it was when Billy Joe Saunders started showing some interest and saying, hey, I got my pen, I want a couple things me way, right? And he was yelling, and your team, Frank Warren and your team were in negotiations to make the Billy Joe Saunders fight. You guys let De La Hoya punk him. They let De La Hoya say, hey, if you fight Billy Joe Saunders, no Canelo. And then they just listened to that instead of going and being their own man in their own independent faction and being like, whatever. If De La Hoya wants to threaten us and we can't get Canelo, we already waited a year and a half, 2 years or whatever. So fuck it. We're going to become undisputed. Either way, the pressure, see, this is what I'm saying. You got to make power moves. This is chess, not checkers. Because let's say Golden Boy threatened like they did. They threatened. They said their threat was basically, if you fight Billy Joe Saunders, you're not fighting Canelo next, because if you don't heed our warning, we want proper time and adequate time to promote, and we want to promote immediately after Canelo Chavez Jr., which is what they did. They actually had Golovkin come out after the fight, come into the ring, the same ring before it got torn down after the Chavez Jr. fight. So they were true with that. But this is the thing. If they would have been their own independent thing and not let De La Hoya pretty much tell them who they could fight and when they couldn't fight, and Golden Boy, they could have possibly beat Billy Joe Saunders, been undisputed, and then the pressure would be right back on Canelo to fight you, despite what they said. You know what I'm saying? The pressure would be right there for Canelo to take the fight, and people would have still been on your side. But you didn't do it. You didn't listen to me, your boy Ego, and you did it your way. You got one Canelo payday. That was cool. You got a draw out of the equation, retain your titles. That's cool. And then now you're in this mess, wanting a better split, and then being met with a denial from Golden Boy. You know what I mean? Possibly gonna get stripped of one of your titles that you said that you are all about all the belts. You know what I mean? If you don't fight your mandatory Derevyanchenko. You have other mandatories like Charlo who are begging and barking at your door. You have Jacobs who already gave you a tough fight. You have Andrade who's saying he's interested in fighting you. You know what I mean? So I just think they went about it all wrong. I think Undisputed would have been the difference maker. Now you have a little bit more leverage. If you had all the belts, but you had the same amount of belts that you had in the first fight in the second fight, and you still worked out a 65-35% split. Now it's not good enough. You know what I mean? Sounds like a personal problem. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.